We have an array where we need to select a random value from that array. Currently, we have 3 different items within that array, 3 different text strings, and we possibly could have more. So we want to make this as dynamic as possible, as well as we don't want the user to know which element and which string value we're going to be outputting. And this is where we turn to math random. This is a function in JavaScript that returns a number in the range of 0 to 1, inclusive of 0, but not of 1. So basically, you're going to get returned back a value that's 0, decimal, and a whole string of numbers. And here's some examples of what happens and how the output looks within math random. So over here, we're just simply got a math random, and this is a typical number that gets returned. So if we do want to have a random number that's a particular value, then we need to multiply that number by the value that we want to have output. There's an example here of how to get a random integer. So minimum, maximum. So we've got minimum is the math ceiling, maximum is the math floor, plus minimum. So essentially what we're doing is we're doing math floor, multiplying it by math random, and that's returning back the number. So let's go ahead and take a closer look at this within our editor. So going into play the game, first of all, let's create a random number. So we'll call it random num using a math, and I'll show you what that's going to return. So we'll console log out the value of random num. So refresh, and every time we hit start, we get a random number. So it's got a lot of decimal, it's decimal with a lot of numbers. So we want to actually multiply that by a meaningful number, and if we want to have a number from 0 to 9, we could multiply it by 10. So that would give us a random number anywhere from 0 to 9. And just to be sure, this is where we could do math floor. So this is another built-in math function in JavaScript. And that would actually bring the returned value down to the floor to make sure that we're rounding it down to the nearest floor value. And as we saw over here, when we use floor, then this is the rounding down to the nearest full number. Whereas if we do math ceiling, we're rounding up to the nearest full number. So that's what the difference there is. So right now, if we press it multiple times, you're going to see that we're always returning a number back anywhere from 0 to 9. So there's 9, and if we keep going, we see that we've got a 0. So we never get 10. If we do want to have 10, then we can add plus 1. This will return back a number from 1 to 10. And as you can see, 10 got returned back there. And if we want to get a random item from our array, we know that this is an array and arrays have length. So instead of 10, we could do wording.length, and this is going to be equivalent to 3. I'm going to get rid of that 0, 1 because arrays are 0 based, and we want to actually return a number back anywhere from 0 to 2. And as you can see, the numbers being returned back are always within that range within a random number. You could try it out for yourself as well. So the next thing that we want to do is output within that message. So taking message and updating the inner text of message, we're going to use the wording array and specify an index value. And that index value is going to be equivalent to that random value. So essentially, as we saw, we're getting a value of 0, 1, or 2 because we have 3 items within the array. So that's indicated by the length. Index values from the array, and this is dynamically, so in case our array increases in length, our formula will always still work. So go ahead and try it out for yourself. That's math random, and try some of the examples, generate some random numbers and output in the console. And coming up next, we'll show you how you can update the start button, as well as how we can set a start time when the user presses the start button, and then another spot time that we can get when the user completes typing and hits the end button. So all of that is still yet to come.